Welcome to Overdrive AF, the official podcast of Overdrive Fitness. My name is Teddy Gerzon, and I'm joined by Gina Marie Gerzon. What is up? What up? All right, here we are, episode 160 of Overdrive AF. I don't even know, what is this? Episode number 4 in Overdrive 3.0.
I think so.
Yeah, this is our 160th episode.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a pretty solid amount, even with the hiatus that we took.
Yeah, because we were cranking.
We were trying to figure out exactly when we were going to make this move and get the whole gym ready to go. So that hiatus is over. But yeah, for a while we were cranking these out. Yeah. All right. So today is, as we're recording it is Wednesday, November 8th. In 3 days we will have the Overdrive 3.0 grand opening kickoff party. Food supplied by NoCo Catering and Chocolate Place, right?
Yes.
You had mentioned that before.
I didn't put that in the message to our warriors.
We're
I
gonna
forgot
keep posting
to
about
remind
it.
them
Yeah.
about Chocolate Place. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so lots of tasty treats for everybody. We're not the fitness type of place to be like, you can never eat anything good again. Like, that's fucking horse shit. You can definitely have a great body and a great sense of mind. You can be healthy all around while still having things that are deemed bad, right? So
Nothing is inherently bad.
no.
Too much of anything isn't good for you, so.
Yeah, except for Red Sox and Patriots fans. Those are always bad. And nowadays, honestly, I don't even care about those two. It's the Houston Astro fans that I think are probably the worst.
Cheaters! Cheaters!
Altuve P's sitting down. So, anyway, here we are on episode number 160. And, what we want to talk about today is actually a tweet that caught both of our attentions. Gina's actually on Twitter more than I am because she's a little bit more sophisticated than I am. I'm very simple-minded. I like funny puppy videos and
I watch
food
a
videos.
lot of those too.
So I just watch all that on Instagram. Thoughts are not allowed on my page, so they're immediately removed from my newsfeed. But give me all the funny puppy videos and, food and pizza videos, all you want. I am there 24/7. So the tweet that we saw was from Joel Smith of Just Fly Sports, and I'm just going to read it so we're all aware. And for the visual, I'm actually going to post this on the video for people that are actually watching this episode. So what he said was, things underemphasized in athletic performance programs: body awareness and connection, so muscle-mind connection, fluidity of movement, gamification / joy of play, creative problem solving, and then skill acquisition concepts, i.e. differential learning / error amplification / CLA, right? We're going to talk about the first 4 of those 5, all right? Because these are important, okay? For whatever reason, and don't get me wrong, I love bodybuilding. I know you love bodybuilding, okay? It's got a special part in my heart because I remember growing up wanting to be like Arnold or Ronnie Coleman, even like finding out who Frank Zane was, and then realizing that I was never going to grow past this one growth spurt I had in 7th grade where I went from second tallest person on my basketball team to the shortest person going forward on any sport team that I was on. But I then fell in love with like Frank Colombo, right? And then eventually Flex Wheeler, because like they were all shorter guys. I was like, maybe that's achievable for me. So anyway, bodybuilding always has a special place in my heart, and I'm sure yours. But what I'm getting at is, for whatever reason, things go in and out. What's old is new again, and bodybuilding is now popular again to the point where there are a lot of high school and college athletes that are working out like bodybuilders, and it doesn't work, right? You'll look good, but you may never ever get your ass off the bench. So you just look pretty in your uniform. That's never going to get dirty, right?
Yeah.
So, as far as athletic performance programs, these topics, these categories that Joel listed, and mind you, Just Fly Sports, that podcast is amazing. I can't recommend it anymore. For most of you that are not in the sport performance field, it might just bore you to death. So just be careful if you're going to listen to it. But there's a lot of interesting things on there. Anyway, if we're going to start with one, let's start with body awareness and the mind-muscle connection, right? So that is definitely an underemphasized aspect of programming in a lot of athletic performance programs, right? So I mean, before I get into it, anything you want to touch on in that topic?
I mean, sports are all about the mind-muscle connection. Is what are we doing? Why are we playing? Why are we moving this way? What's the goal? Not just for the athletes, but even the adults that have used to be athletes or maybe still play recreationally. There's always a means to an end. There's always a reason why we do things, and we always want to be able to connect the two dots. So a press, a pull, a squat, a hinge, a rotation, stabilization, all of those things, making the athlete aware of why we're doing things, and we're reacting, yes, but why are we reacting in that way? So we have to put those two things together. I think that mind-muscle connection is the basis for why we do what we do, and the movement pattern itself. If there is no foundational connection, then we're just going through the motions. And I think just going through the motions is there's no point. It's kind of like, you have talent, but where is the grit coming from, and where is the effort coming from? You need something to back the talent. You need something foundational to get you through from A to B. So
I think one of the simplest things too, I mean, if you're going to revert back to the fact that a lot of teenage athletes are doing these bodybuilding split workouts, touching on one of the more recent episodes, the unilateral movements, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, being aware of your body, I mean, we often see athletes come in here that they may be good at their sport, right? They may be great tennis players, great soccer players, but as far as being an athlete overall, like they're great specifically for that sport, as far as being an athlete, their contralateral movements are shit, right? They cannot move their left arm with their right leg, right? For whatever reason, they're challenged in moving across the midline, right? So, the midline, it's basically an imaginary line splitting your body vertically between left and right sides, right?
Yeah.
So, believe it or not, something as simple as moving across that midline, like moving your left hand over to your right side past that midline, will stimulate the brain, right? It'll help you become more aware of your body. So, it is extremely important to put movements like that into your program. It's extremely important to emphasize that, because it's just like anything. It's like shooting a basketball. The more you work on your jump shot, the more you'll perfect it, right? So the more you work across the midline, the more you'll perfect those athletic movements. So it's as simple as that. Getting the athlete to actually understand, or getting the athlete to actually have their body do what their brain is commanding it to do is extremely important, right? And I mean, if you even want to get more specific, right, the brains of the muscle, right, the Golgi tendon organs,
Mm-hmm.
right, those are essentially the command centers, like, to tell the muscle to fire, right? The signal that it's getting from the brain is only going to work well once there's enough repetitions in doing certain movements. Okay, so if you're always trying to do a hop, which the definition of is just a single leg jump, right? If you're always trying to perform a hop while essentially just making it like a pogo movement, to where every time you leave the ground you pull your toes up towards your knees, so you dorsiflex, right? It's if you suck it at the first time, you'll probably suck it at the fifth time, right? But I guarantee by that 100th time of attempting to do it properly, you will do it properly, and you'll keep nailing it, right? Kind of like who's this basketball commentator? I think it's like Kenny Smith. Probably he goes hand down, man down, right? So, it's just certain things. It just requires repetition to perfect and make it look smooth. I mean, it even goes back to what's that scale? From like it's 4 levels, right? There's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, unconscious competence, right? So that's
Yeah.
where you really want to be, to where
You're in flow.
yeah, you're in a flow, you're smoothly performing a movement, and you're not even aware that you're doing it.
What's become so ingrained in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally habitual.
Yes. So that's why, emphasizing body awareness and mind muscle connection is so important in an athletic performance program. You ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Believe it or not, I know I may be speaking fast. That's just how I normally am. I've only had 2 cups of coffee today. And it's funny because Coach Matt said that, remember I told you what he said about me? He said it in like a
What did he
national
say?
Zoom. He's like,
I'm trying
don't
to
mind
remember.
Teddy. He may speak fast.
Oh,
That's just him being from New York.
right.
It has nothing to do with him being an asshole, even though people that speak fast usually are assholes. Now, he's just being nice. So, as a disclaimer, I may be an asshole. Who knows? That's for you to judge. Or you to judge. Right? So, fluidity of movement. That is also important. I feel like this first one rolls right into the second one.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So, body awareness and mind muscle connection. Without that, there is no fluidity of movement. But again, practicing specific movements will help you become more fluid, right? So, for instance, one thing I've been saying for a long time, since I started training athletes in 2007, was as far as non-contact injuries, right? The majority of them or as far as ACL tears, or even any type of injury like that, right? Like the tendon or ligament injuries, as far as those are concerned, the majority of them are non-contact, right? Then you start to break down. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had an athlete come in after a severe injury and they're like, I need to be more agile. So I look at how they break down, right? First of all, their deceleration sucks because they've never worked on it, right?
Right.
Or it's not even their linear deceleration, but their lateral deceleration sucks. Their ability to change direction is terrible, right? Why? Well, because they just don't practice it, right? And most of the time, it's no fault to the athlete, right? It's just pretty much habits, or essentially bad habits, right? So, for instance, running suicides. If you're even allowed to call them that anymore in basketball, I'm pretty sure that's been banned for a long time. They just call them wind sprints or whatever, right? But you'll just see so many people, they don't, or even gassers, right, in football, but you're supposed to run a specific distance from line to line, and instead of actually planting and cutting, getting to the line, touching it, and heading back, you'll see a lot of people just cheat. They'll round off their turns, or they'll just stop short when the coaches aren't looking, right? So those are the moments when you really need to emphasize that, because believe it or not, when you're fluid in your movements, you're not wasting energy. And when you're not wasting energy, you are more efficient and you have that energy to use later when everyone else is tired. So it's important to be fluid in your movements.
Like a dancer, it's already like predetermined. You've gone over it so many times. You've practiced so many times that it's, instead of being it's very mindful.
Mm-hmm.
Not mindless, where people are, when they're so disconnected to their bodies, and they're so, and you can tell even when you're training athletes, or you're training the adult clients, where they're trying, but they're so disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be able to see when these athletes are on the field or on the mat or whatever, and they've already they know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, who they're passing the ball to. It's like they see it before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we want for every athlete, is for them, they're being so mindful of everything. It's not mindless, it's the opposite. It's so mindful, they're so in the zone, they're so fluid, they're so, what's the word I'm looking for? Present.
Perfect.
Dan Millman is an amazing author, and if anybody has read any of his books, so there's one book called The Peaceful Warrior, and he's written many books, but in the book, he reminds, this one book is about this amazingly talented, talk about talented athlete that not necessarily connected to his body, but he's just so innately gifted. Things happen in this book where those of you that hopefully maybe one person at least will end up picking up this book and reading it.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually stop, not even and just being present and being in the moment of the moment, but actually allowing yourself to slow down enough so that you can appreciate the spaces between the moments. Slow down enough. Allow everything to focus. Get so focused and so in flow of the literal space between the moments. And I think that when we see the Olympic medals happen and the wins and the trophies and the PRs and all of these things, it's literally, you've seen it before it's happened. And I think going back even to the fluidity of movement and that mind-muscle connection, those two things come together so well because it's already been written in time and you're just getting there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love that book. And I love everything about what that book teaches.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing.
No, it is great. I recommend it too.
Oh my God.
So yeah, fluidity of movement, I mean, emphasizing that in an athlete's program is going to be huge. And let's face it, doing sets of 21s isn't going to get you there. You want to do it at the end of your workout, that's cool. We're fine with that.
Right.
But emphasizing, an hour and a half of your training to just arms, it's not going to have much carryover into your sport. Except for like Brian Cushing, who loved that his arms always looked sweet on the Jumbotron. And it's not a knock on Cush because he's actually one of my favorite players of all time. Moving on. Gamification / joy of play. Now this, I think, is huge for multiple reasons. Number one, let's put it this way. I've obviously trained a lot of athletes. Most of them kids, right? Like between the ages of 7 and 12. Now, as we all remember for ourselves, those were some of the golden years of our lives, right? So some of the best things happened in that area, right? In that range of our lives, like even between like 7 and 14. Like I remember that was the golden age of wrestling, right? Who didn't want to be in a WWF at that point, right? I mean, how many times did you throw down the DX chop and nearly get suspended or expelled in school? I mean,
my goodness. That's offensive. Go to the principal's office.
Mr. Gerzon, again, you're becoming a frequent visitor. Anyway, so, going back to the gamification and joy of athletic programming or even just play in general, that is so big and there's so much carryover to it. So first of all, like just making the training fun, like throwing in a game is always going to make it more enjoyable and memorable. But you're also subconsciously and indirectly hammering home the skill set that you're trying to perfect in these athletes by utilizing a game to get you there. For instance, when there's an acceleration workout for the day, right, where we're always working on that first step or that forward lean, anything in that range, that scope, that realm of acceleration training, to really put it all together, you're going to have the kids play a game. So it could be cat and mouse, where you have one person where's the cat, they're either in a sitting or kneeling position, ready to take off, right? And then the mouse is in front of them. But now it's a game, because what I like to do is say, all right, if the cat gets the mouse gets 10 push-ups. If the mouse is not caught by the cat has 10 push-ups, right? Then you set an end range, right? You set a goal. So like in football, there's an end zone. So in our case, the end zone, give me 1 second.
I hear the dog snoring.
So in our case, in the end zone, in this game at least, is it's just an area in which, like, once the mouse gets to that area, they're safe. You can't, even if he's tagged in that area, is it doesn't matter. The game's over. The play's over. He scored. So in this case, what we're trying to work on is obviously reaction time of the cat reacting to the mouse taking off, the mouse making a decision to move, because like you can't try to fake out the cat behind you. Like the cat's behind the mouse. Once the mouse decides to take off, that's when the cat can leap out and try to grab the mouse, right? Now we do make it safe, so you're not allowed to shove, push, tackle, trip, pull hair, spit, or anything like that. You can only tag between the shoulders and waist. Okay, full palm. Then it counts, right? And that's making it hard like that. It forces you to become better, right? Now, you play that game several times with a bunch of kids, they're gonna love it. You're gonna feel the intensity in the room. It gets pretty cool to be around. There's that, and then there's the ball drop game, right? So I'll stand a couple yards away, drop the ball. As soon as they see the ball release from my hand, the athlete has to quickly try to, obviously working the first step, but they have to quickly try to grab the ball before the second bounce, right? So this also teaches the athlete, since it's becoming a game, it's also teaching them how to deal with the anxiety, right? I can't tell you how many times it feels like today, these days at least, where I feel athletes just don't know how to deal with stress and anxiety. They're always so used to doing well, but when they're actually challenged with something, they'll fold, right? So what better way to put them in game type of situations in their training, so that when they're on the field, they're on the court, they're on the pitch, they're on the diamond, it ain't shit to them, right? That's important.
I agree with you.
Um,
Pressure makes diamonds.
Pressure makes diamonds. Do you have anything else to add? Because this actually rolls right into the fourth and final topic.
Go. Talking.
No, so the only reason I was asking, because the next one is creative problem solving. So that's where we also use games here, and other places too, but that's where you can also use a game to really hammer home actually everything that we've spoken about. So body awareness and mind-muscle connection, fluidity of movement, and gamification. So gamification allows you to create, allows you to improve your creative problem solving, right? So for instance, the ball drop game. Simply put, we just stand a few yards away, we drop the ball, the athlete has up until the second bounce to grab it. If not, they have 10 push-ups. Okay. Now, how do you add levels to this, right? So what we'll do actually is I'll then take 2 lacrosse balls out, and I like the lacrosse balls so they have a lot of bounce to them. But we have a men's ball and a women's ball, right? So anybody that knows anything about lacrosse, the men's ball is white, the women's ball is yellow. And what I like to do is actually assign. Well, first we start with colors. So as I drop them, right? As I'm dropping them, I yell out a color. So I'll be white, yellow, something like that, right? And both balls drop, and the athlete has to navigate between both of them to grab the right one. You can't touch the wrong one, right? You get the right one, no push-ups. You get the wrong one, push-ups, right? Now, that's problem solving, because you have to figure out which color am I getting. To take it a step further, we turn it into addition. And then even further than that, it'll be any type of arithmetic, right? So I could just be like, yellow is odds, whites are even, right? So then I'll just say 2 as I drop both balls. So you got to grab the correct ball. And in that case, if whites are even, then you have to grab the white ball, because I said number 2. Then I might move on to say, all right, 5 plus 2 as I'm dropping the ball. So now they quickly have to figure out which ball to grab, right?
Thinking on their feet. This is important.
Exactly. So now they're thinking, but since we spent the first 30 minutes of the workout working on their acceleration stance, making sure their center of balance, their center of gravity is in the right position so they can take off properly, working on all that stuff, the game makes it fun, and they don't even realize that they're applying those skills that we had worked to improve from earlier that day, right? So all these things work together, and they're all super important. And I just really feel that a lot of those things aren't being worked on enough, and they can't be worked on enough in today's athletes.
I mean, I think that lends itself really well to the maturity of how they handle wins and losses too, and how they handle, well, today wasn't my best day. How do I deal with it? What could I do better? How could I be a better athlete? What do I need to work on to get me to that next level? Instead of getting really frustrated,
Mm-hmm.
having an outburst, seeing things like punching the other athlete because they lost, or they didn't get their hand raised, or ending up getting a penalty or a flag thrown on the play, that kind of stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
being maturity too, like growing up, becoming a better human, becoming a better young adult or teenager, or just maturity. I mean, I think that lends itself. All of these things help to allow these children, these young adults, these teenagers, these tweens, whatever, to be better people, to be able to grow up in the real world, to be able to handle themselves in reality.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, I cannot stress that enough to the parents in here too, and they see it in their kids. Is it how they end up acting and then reacting when they train here, and the things that we work on, and all of a sudden it just transfers. It doesn't just transfer onto the field, on the court, on the mat, the track, whatever. It transfers into school. It transfers into their social situations. They handle stress. They handle life so much better because they're so much more well-rounded. It almost makes their job a little easier as parents too, because they're working on these things. These are like problem solving, reacting, acting, reacting. Go left, go right, go up, go down, stop, go. That kind of stuff, or what decision they made. I mean, they're huge. This is huge.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, to take it a whole nother step too, I hate blaming officiating on the outcome of a game, right? And I also hate when an athlete tries to blame everything on a coach too, because at the end of the day, if you just want to look inside and hold yourself accountable, ask yourself first: if I was faster, if I was more aware, if I was more prepared by watching enough film, would the outcome of this game have been different? Right? So I think it's more important to really look into that and emphasize all these skills that you could work on as an athlete to make sure that you never blame somebody else when you could have improved everything yourself. You could have dominated yourself. That is becoming a common theme, to where a notification will on my Google Calendar will interrupt the podcast.
Did it
episode.
interrupt it?
Oh yeah, I just heard it right through my headphones.
Damn it.
Maybe I could mute that out.
Damn
I'll put a
it.
farting noise in there or something.
Good idea. Well, we used to have those. Didn't we used to have those little, like, funny
Yeah, I could get
noises?
a soundboard out again.
It's a soundboard. Thank you. Accountability. I mean, with that, I feel like you learn that in good. That's part of good sportsmanship. I mean, accountability. That's accountability for everything. From waking up, growing up as a child, and making your bed, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, putting your clothes. Maybe picking out your clothes in the morning. Your parents are telling, okay, time for breakfast. Pack your lunch. Did you pack your lunch? All of those things. Well, you didn't pack your lunch. You don't have lunch for school. So what do you expect? Or you didn't get your clothes ready the night before. This is why we're late. Or, anything. Or maybe we could have ran a little bit faster and thrown the ball a little bit quicker to so and so. That would have been the touchdown. It's like we have to be accountable for every action.
Mm-hmm.
Become maturity. I mean, accountability, maturity, they go hand in hand. They become better adults. I mean, being able to experience these things in sports, and having the wins and losses, and having, the good and the bad in the games and in the practices, and falling down, and then what do? Do we cry? Do we scream? Do we blame it on somebody? Or do we get back up and go again?
Mm-hmm.
We get back up and we go again. I mean, that's part of life,
What's up, Rajal?
Right, Rajal?
So yeah, just to wrap it up, again, 4 things that are underemphasized in athletic performance programs, right? Number 1, body awareness and mind-muscle connection. Number 2, fluidity of movement. Number 3, gamification / joy of play. And number 4, creative problem solving. So pretty much we can guarantee that if you touch on all these aspects of your athletic performance programs, you should expect to see a gross increase in your athletic ability. Let alone, if you're a parent listening, let alone the improvement of your own athletes' athletic performance. Anything else to add?
No, this was a great topic, and I'm glad we covered it.
We are super excited to see everybody on Saturday. Former members, former athletes, right? Current members, people that have moved and they're coming back into town just to celebrate this new chapter of Overdrive Fitness. Ready to stuff our face, have a good time. Maybe a little dance battle, 90s R&B karaoke. Boy band karaoke from that era is also accepted. And yeah, I mean, that's all we have for you this week. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, we'll catch you guys next week in another episode of Overdrive AF. Thanks for tuning in. We are out. Peace.